Good afternoon, everybody. Well, it is afternoon, and apologies for not being on sooner today, but we are now live with the Newpreneur cast. Now, here's a question for you all out there right now who are listening and watching either on my YouTube channel, the @LeeFosterOfficial, or via LinkedIn Live. Are you celebrating wins, and do you plan ahead in your business? I think now and again, we get to a point where we don't actually reflect upon what we've been doing and also celebrating what we've achieved. Think about that for a second. Are you celebrating what you achieved and giving yourself a really good pat on the back for doing a grand good job, especially if you're working on your own, especially in the SME marketplace? It is a soulless world that we work in. So again, celebrate those wins, but also celebrate the people that are around you, that have helped you, that have guided you and lifted you to the next pedestal. Now, today and this week, I've got the great pleasure to welcome along a gentleman. I do stress the word gentleman, all right, who's been a great asset to my journey for the past many months. But he's been through a lot of changes, adapting his business, looking at those objectives and striking hard for real great celebrations of success. Please welcome with me today, Reece Devlin of the Land Development Network. Reece, how are you today?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Good, man. Very good indeed. I am now. I've had a coffee, and as many people know me really well, that once Lee gets a cup of coffee in his system, that's him wired to the moon.
Yeah, that's I've got ADHD, Lee. If I drink coffee, I'll be wired to the moon. So I'm a water guy.
Good. Reece, you've had a lot going on, and thanks for the week you've had this week. I've noticed what's been going on socials, etc. You've had a lot happening, and you're speaking to a lot of key people. So thank you so much for spending the time with me this afternoon, just to have a chat about, about your year one, really. Can we kick things off, first of all? When did you decide in that first year to do what you're doing?
So I've basically had two first years now, Lee.
Yeah.
My first year, I was in sales, had left college, went into full-time sales, and I couldn't work for anybody. Like, I hated it. I hated having a boss, and I wanted to start my own company, but I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. Like, not a clue what business to start. Didn't have any sort of a real value I could add to anyone other than sales. So I went into a training course within property and learned the sort of a key fundamentals of investing in property. And from there, it's just grew sort of at arms and legs. And now the business is transformed, and we're in our new first year of the new business, which is crazy.
I can't believe that's been a first year for you, Reece, though, and your second sort of change. Not a change of direction. You've always stayed on that path.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same industry, Lee, but just a different, I just call it different bows. It's the same principles. It's just a different way of looking at it.
Yeah. The way I like to look at it as well, and I've shared this with a few people, Reece, is that you're heading down the motorway of your business to the town is your objective. The destination is where you want to get to. But you know what? Now and again, the weather's nice, the sunshine's going, and you think, I'm going to take the B road off today.
Yeah.
I'm still going to go to the same objective, but I'm going to change the direction slightly, but change my sort
change the scenery.
Scenery. Thank you. I was trying to get that word stuck out my tongue there for a second. But it's true, we changed the scenery. Has that adapted a lot in this sort of new first year for yourself, Reece?
It's been amazingly, like the change. It is so new. It's within the same space. So obviously we're in land now. It's still property as such, but it's just new. It's so different. It's fresh. You're not dealing with the mundaneness of, a vanilla buy-to-let. You're dealing with, some of the largest companies in the UK with regards to Miller Homes, Barrett, Taylor Wimpey, Persimmon. It's crazy, and the numbers that they talk in is just unfathomable sometimes. Just the Miller Homes West office, I want to build 500 homes this year. I'm like, wow. Mental, absolutely mental. And that's just one of the big, 10 companies. So yeah, it's been refreshing, and I've needed the change. I needed it. I needed it more than what I even realized I needed it, to be honest. I was dreading getting up in the morning, dreading it. I hated what I was doing. Didn't believe in it anymore. Didn't believe in anything I was doing. And the minute I made this change, it was like a light bulb switched on, and I was like, this is unbelievable. I loved it. I love waking up. I dread when Friday comes along, but I do dread when a Friday comes, because I know that Saturday and Sundays, like, there's nothing to be done because lawyers are shut, businesses are shut. It's like kind of just sitting about twiddling my thumbs playing rugby. It's nothing really to be done,
I think what you've done the most though as well, and it's okay, everybody. He says that now and again, so we'll just keep it on once off. That's okay. But hey, we're human. We're just us here today. So, but everyone's watching and probably put a comment on there somewhere. But anyway, I think what I've noticed the most for yourself though, and I think is you actually noticed when you need to change. Because a lot of people go down the path and keep trying to make it work.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to go, do you know what? I need just to reset myself.
Look, I wouldn't say that, do you know, the biggest thing that was drawing me in, Lee, the problem with me was I started it when I was 18, and it was kind of like, it was the only thing I've ever known, right? I didn't want it to die, like, not die is such so dramatic, man, but yeah. I didn't want it to fail, and I was doing everything in my power to try and revive it, purely, and this is genuinely the truth of the matter, is purely because I didn't want to say I had failed. That was it. Like, I just didn't want to be able to say that business had failed. And if the business didn't, like, fail as such, I just grew out of love with it. And in my eyes, that was me failing. So it was the constant battle of, in myself, trying to say to myself, look, you're good at this. Why are you not just still doing it? But in the same breath, in my own head, going, I cannot be bothered talking, even looking, thinking about this business anymore. I just hated it. And I hated the industry I was in. I hated the people in the industry. It got so toxic, and just, I hated it. And then flip forward now to this, and it's like, I'm the way I was when I was 18 again. I just feel so fresh. It's just so much fun again. I enjoy it. I enjoy the people I speak to. I mean, you still get your odd person that you don't want to do business with and stuff like that. It's never going to change. It's life. But in the same breath, it's nowhere near as bad as every second person, that you don't want to work with anymore. So, but it took me a while to properly realise that, it's done. It is done. Just kill it off, mate, And I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
I guess again, I always find interesting parts of whoever I'm speaking to every single week. But from you, what you've mentioned there was really interesting, is the people you got around you. And me, you've had many conversations over the last few weeks, is that sometimes you've got to change the dynamic of the people around you at times.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing you can do about that. Now and again, just naturally, you'll go through this process of knowing them, and then they drop out of your circle. But you might meet them a few years down the line again. But you've got some key people you've met that's literally changed this year for you, haven't you? Really, some key fundamental people that literally come in and set the road alight for you.
Oh, we did 100%. Like, so my business partner now, who came into the company, I met him, funny enough, through property and investing with property and stuff like that. So, it's not as if like I don't hold property in high regard anymore, because without it, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. It was I call it my building blocks of learning the process and learning the ins and outs of the industry I'm in first. Kind of start at the bottom and, work your way to the big boys. And it was needed, but I met my business partner now through that. We've also now brought in, a consultant into the company who works with us 6 days a week, and the knowledge that he has is just phenomenal, absolutely incredible. What he knows about land and developments and stuff like that. Also, my other business partner Scott, and other people that help the business that don't have a vested interest in the business either. Like, just want to see me as a person do well, which is crazy because you're taught in life that everybody's in it for themselves, but I've genuinely noticed that it's not necessarily the truth, because some people genuinely, especially I find especially the ones that have made it, and are successful, they don't care about what they're going to get from you. They just want to see you as a person do well. They want to see like whatever you're doing succeed. And it's quite a nice feeling. It's humbling feeling, you know, that not everybody needs to have their pound of flesh, if you know what I mean. You know, and it's been important for me to have that sort of a support network, and obviously my family as well, like my mum, my dad, and my wife Charlie. It's having them all round about me and pushing me in the right direction, because it was very easy for Charlie. I mean, I told Charlie I wasn't doing the business anymore the day after my wedding. So I was sitting in a hot tub in the lodge, and I was,
as you do, everybody, as you do,
you know, I just
in a lodge,
in the lodge at the wedding venue, and just said to her, I'm done with the business. And she kind of had that blind panic look on her face, of, you know, you've just married me, and
I've got to say, mate, there's a point where you actually tell your wife that you've just married, that you're changing tomorrow. I might not have a business or a job, but listen, welcome to the family.
Killing off my entire stream of income is what I said to her. Like, that's exactly what I'm doing here. And God bless her, Lee, to be honest, she took the reins, because this business really, really didn't get going, you know, for last year we didn't earn a penny in the new business at all.
Really? Wow.
At all. I had some other investments that came in and stuff like that, so it kind of cushioned it a little bit. But Charlie really, really picked up the pieces in that, and held down the fort with a new house that we had, and really made sure that I was able to just focus fully on the business. And because I knew for a fact, Lee, if I had to go get a job, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done the new business. I'd have just went into a full-time job. And Charlie knows me enough to know that if I went into a job, it'd have been hell for her. Yeah. You know, just living with me, because I would have hated everything about it. So she gave me the sort of a platform to be able to go and properly look into this business and have a good crack at it. And now, towards, you know, they were coming into basically kind of our first year in business now. Because last year was kind of, we didn't even really have a company set up. It was just more trying to wheel and deal and see if we could make something of this. But fast forward to now, and we're looking at projects that are, you know, profit wise are 4, 5, 6 million quid. Wow. And I'm like, you know, it's such a stark contrast, because obviously last year I was in the trenches again, of not having any income and really trying to build a business that I had no idea about. Nothing. I didn't know anything about land. Nothing. I still don't know much. No, I'm joking, but
he's only joking, by the way. He's only joking about that, by the way.
But the spending a full year and wrapping people around about me to be able to teach me the ins and outs of because there's lots you can learn, but it's realistically, it's only what you need to know in order to be able to do what you need to do. Correct. There's no point in learning everything about a subject that you don't need. So I honed in on the stuff that I really wanted to focus on, and it just went a bit mental from there.
Do you know what many people forget about, Reece, is, right? You're not just needing a business foundation around you. You also need your family foundation around you as well.
100%.
And that's your anchor, you know. And it's not just family, but it's friends and supporters. And it's the ones who can give you the advice and tell you, you know, and I bet you Charlie said it, should be upfront and tell you exactly what she thinks if something's not right. I know my missus does, and everybody doesn't. So there's people in their framework that will just literally tell them, do you really want to do that? Or should you not think it this way? That's important.
I think Charlie knows me, Lee, I think, honestly, sometimes better than I know myself at this point. And she can see it in me when I'm done with something. Like I've got the worst poker face on the planet. Yeah. And it was just affecting me, Lee. Like, I'd put on weight, I wasn't going to the gym, I couldn't be bothered going to rugby. Like, it was affecting everything in my life, this business. Or not this one, but the previous one. It was affecting everything about me. And it took me everything to be actually be able to go and say, yeah, I'm done. It did take everything in my power to be able to say I was done. Because even when I said I was done previously, I'd said I was done at the end of probably 2021, 2022. I said I was out of it, but I wasn't. I was still dipping my toe in the water every now and again. And the funny thing is, now that I says I'm done, the amount of property deals and the amount of property actually investors that come to me and want to do work is mental. So now we're actually thinking about implementing the property side of the business within Land Development Network as well. So it's great that, because I still had that. The thing is, although I fell out of love with the industry, I still have a passion for property. Like, still love taking a house that's absolutely dilapidated, doing it up to the nines and selling it. Love the whole process of that. And I love, you know, the last house we done in Knightswood, it was a 2-bed semi-detached house, and it was wrecked inside, absolutely wrecked. We done it up, new kitchens, new bathrooms, and it was a young family, and the girl was pregnant, and she's going to live in that, and they're going to start a family in that house, and my project is going to be a wee part of their life, which is crazy to think, and it's nice. It's nice to think that. But we also have that ethos within Land Development Network that, you know, so I read a stat. I know this is going a bit ski-whiffy, but I read a stat that there's more children in temporary accommodation in Glasgow alone than there is the entirety of Wales.
Scary, isn't it?
It's a subject, not that I've ever experienced that personally, but I've seen family members experience it, and it's a subject really, really quite close to my heart. So at the core of our ethos in the company is helping solve the housing crisis within Scotland, and then focusing on the UK. And it gives us that element again of actually meaning. It has a meaning behind what we're doing. It's not just all about profit and stuff like that. It genuinely isn't for me. As much as I love money, like who doesn't? But there has to be an element of a social and economical impact that you're doing. And I think if you can do that whilst making money, then it's a win-win for everybody.
Well, you've got to survive. You've got to pay the bills.
Exactly.
You know, you've got to be living your life as such as you can. But in the meantime, if you can actually do that by actually helping people around you, it's really important. And it's a stat that, you know, one of the charities that I work quite closely with is the Glasgow Care Foundation. And, you know, you look at the families and the children around Glasgow itself. And when you look at that stat against Wales and Glasgow, it just blows your mind from that perspective as well. But what was, again, another thing you mentioned there was the objectives you had in your first year, not just the people around you, but what was the first objective to get off the ground? I mean, you're saying it was like just starting to get the foundation right in the first year. You're very philanthropic, which is very charity organized, focused as well about local source and the families in this area, which is brilliant to have that, right? But in that first year, you started off your business, the second one now, the one you're in right now. What was the biggest first objective in that first 6 to 8 months? Was it to get a piece of land, to get it developed, to get it? What was it?
That was the least of our worries in the first sort of a couple of months. The least of it. There is so much opportunity in Scotland, Lee. Like, so much. There's so much land. There's so much investment out there. There's so many house builders to work with.
Yeah.
The actual real problem was, and I didn't foresee this because, again, coming from a property background, I seen deals happening within, you know, if I really wanted to, I could go in and buy a house within a week.
Yeah.
If both solicitors wanted to do it and I had the cash ready available, I could buy a house in a week. Really. In land, everything takes between 18 to 24 months.
Wow.
So my steepest of learning curves was not realizing that when we done deals, we weren't getting paid for another year to a year and a half. That was my biggest challenge. So we go back to that conversation I had in the hot tub with Charlie and said to her, I was done with the business and don't worry, I'll get earning quickly again. And then all of a sudden I'm in a space where we can't earn for a year to 2 years. She's a bit like, what is going on here? So I think she was sort of, I thought I was taking the piss out of her a wee bit, but you know, but in that briefly, that was the steepest of learning curves for me, was actually coming into an industry where we didn't know the ins and outs of how it all worked, and it's very corporate, lots of PLCs, lots of, you know, 50 to 60 day invoice terms and stuff like that. So, you know, it was a steep learning curve. So obviously we had to go and find solutions to that, which thankfully, obviously we met my business partner, Stephen, and he injected some much needed cash into the business in order for us to actually be able to breathe a bit.
Breathe, but lift it up a bit. They could keep it moving
But
forward.
also what that allowed us to do was invest
Yeah.
as well into bringing in David. Allowed us to bring in, you know, an element of some ads and stuff like that to sort of just make everything that little bit more streamlined. And from there, it just went, you know, it started blossoming and stuff like that, and you could see it. And without that money, Lee, I genuinely, again, it would have came back to I'd be in the industry definitely, but I'd have a job in it.
Yeah,
I'd have a job in it because I wouldn't have been able to survive, you know. And there would had to have been an element of at what point do we cut it off and actually start earning money for the good of the family kind of thing.
Yeah. I think what's really testament to yourself though is the mindset and the focus and the positivity you've got. I can feel that in yourself, Reece, in the sort of like the last sort of, especially since the end of last year through till now. We've had multiple conversations through there as well. But you can hear that in your voice now. You know, again, it's something just to rewind back slightly. It's when you talk about Charlie and that mindset of stepping out and that objective of thinking, well, we've got a deal on the table, but it's not going to come to fruition for another 18 months, which then you cannot really invest back into the business. So you got to have this right positive mindset of thinking, because it's that interesting fact. What you said before is that many people focus on the business, but they forget about focusing on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And when they don't focus on themselves, they wonder why their business isn't working because their mindset's not in the right place.
Do you know I'm not one for cheesy stuff, right? I hate it, right? Like the cold water therapy and all that stuff. Like
I do that, by the way. I
know it works for some people, right? But I couldn't think of anything worse than jumping into a cold pond. But like, you know, the 5 a.m. starters and stuff like that. I used to try and do it all, but what I've found for me is at least 8 hours sleep helps me. Actually going to rugby, spending time with my missus, and enjoying what I do. See if I can tick all 4 of them off. I'm an easy guy to deal with, like very easy. I don't know if Charlie would say the same thing, but I'm pretty easy to deal with. As long as those 4 things are all checked out, I'm all good. And fed. There's the 5th one. As long as I'm fed, you do need food. So you're right in what you're saying. Is just really making sure that, you know, you're looked after mentally is the biggest thing. Because I'll be the first to admit it, I was in a bad place.
Yeah.
Bad place in 2020, the end of 2023. Because I was coming to terms, obviously, with the business running down. I was coming to terms with, you know, my only source of income completely leaving, to the point where I was asking Charlie if she can pay for a haircut for me, you know. And it knocked the wind out my sails, because obviously I went from such a high of getting married and buying a house to the lowest of lows I could possibly be, and just felt so bad in myself. And it's funny, it was no way the position you should be in starting a new business. Like, you shouldn't be in that headspace.
No.
But the funny thing is I think if I wasn't in that headspace, I wouldn't have wanted to fight as hard as I am now to get out of it. I really wouldn't have, because I was if I tried to do Land Development Network alongside Property Buyers Director, if I tried to do them at the same time as one another, I would have burnt the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
But also, I wouldn't have focused as hard on Land Development Network. And I'm so glad that the business has went down and we've started Land Development Network, because the opportunity size has grown from, you know, 3 to 10 grand per deal to 450 to $1 million a deal. It's you know, it's comparing apple and oranges at this point. So I'm so glad it's all worked out in the way it has, and it's been needed to work out in the same way it has. Because again, if I didn't rip the plaster off and all that stuff, it wouldn't have happened for me. It just wouldn't have, and I know it wouldn't have.
That's a great point, Reece. It's people stick the plaster on the business thing, and it's just going to keep it healed, just let it heal itself, and it just keep putting another one on. But now and again, you've got to rip it off and say, right, let's get the air to it. Let's get it completely cleared up.
Let's just fresh it out.
Yeah, exactly. But it's the anchor you use there with the family you got around you. And it's when you hit those times in your life or business, it's how you pull yourselves back up again. And that's you know, that's one of the big things. You've learned a big lesson, but there's the point to it though. You've learned the lesson from it.
Yeah,
People don't even learn the lesson.
It was a steep learning curve, Lee, because obviously I've seen what happened with property buyers direct as well. I know where I went wrong. Like I know I followed my traces back or my steps back before I wound down the business to see if there was any way that I could revive this and start it again and redo things. And I know exactly every single step I took that was wrong. I know everything I done. I know what I spent money on that I shouldn't have, when I should have invested, when I shouldn't have, when I should have brought money into the cut. I know every single step, and I've learned from every single one of those mistakes, and I've implemented them into Land Development Network, and it's bearing its fruits. And that's why this year, that our basically a real first year, all we're focusing on, and this sounds mental to everybody, is just surviving this first year. Let's get our heads above the water and just tread water for the first year. And then, because of the nature of the business, 18 to 24 months, all the deals we're doing right this second will mature in 2026. So it's about getting us to that point. And at that point, then it's like we've got a rocket strapped to our backside, and then the fuel comes with it. So, you know, it's all about just launching it from there. And that's genuinely, it's exciting, but also terrifying at the same time. It's terrifying.
But you set up the stall for success. I mean, that's, again, you've took time to, and I'm a big believer in this, is that look ahead of yourself of what you want to achieve in the next 6 to 12 months. It's not an instantaneous win that's got from it. So you've got to set up the foundation right. You've got to set up the stall for success that you want to do it. And you've got to be in it for the long-term opportunity, the long-term game, because the big thing you mentioned before is that you're setting up the stall. You've got the objectives in hand. You know what you're going to achieve in the next 12 months. In 12 months' time, you then got an injection going back into the business again, which lifts it up to the next level. So it brings the business back up again. Then you're working on that again. It's not just treading water. You're working behind the scenes to get that next year, to get that next level of investment that comes in. And that is the lifeblood that comes through the business as you push forward.
That's the way we see it, Lee, is this year alone, right, is all just about survival, making sure we can get the deals over the line and secured for the next year. And then at that point, this year was essentially a pipeline building year.
Perfect.
And all we need to do is every year from there build next year's pipeline, and that's the aim, is just build next year, build next year's, build next year's. And if we do that, it's an extremely sort of a easy business to run, because at the end of the day, if you just keep focusing on actually pushing the next year, then this year's taken care of last year. And you know, it's like if you do it that way, it's easy.
Yeah.
Figuratively speaking.
We all think it easy until we got to do it. But
exactly,
you've got to put the planning in place to make sure when it feels easy, something's not right.
No, tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Somebody said to me many years ago, when you start feeling a little bit uncomfortable, right? That's your growth spurt that's happening.
Yeah.
When you embrace the uncomfortableness, if I can get that word out, right? Embrace it, because that is your growth time. There's a great video online which shows the term of a lobster. Have you ever seen it before?
No.
And it shows that it discards its shell all the time, and it just keeps growing, and the shell keeps moving. And that's how the shell holds it together, and then it keeps moving again. The shell just drops off even more. It just keeps growing, but it's shedding the shell and it's growing the shell again. It's always looking to adapt it, but it'll probably feel really uncomfortable at the time. But in also a fact, it's in a growth term that's going on with it, and that's in business. I feel we have to feel the same way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. I got taught that, and I would say that, Lee, is that with some of the deals we're looking at, you know, there's one particular site that has got the potential to build 1,500 new houses, a care home, a health centre, shops, and I'm like, it's, you know, mental. Absolutely, yeah. It's almost a full new village you're building.
Well, visualize it though. In years to come, you go to that village and you see it all built. You imagine going to visit it and it's all built, and you have this thought now, and then when you push forward, say 5 or 6 or 7 years ahead of yourself, or even more, like less maybe, and you've got the village, you walk in, you're going, I was part of this.
Yeah, and if you would have said that to me in the hot tub, I'd have laughed.
I don't know if I'll be in the hot tub with you and Charlie. It's a different type of scenario
Big
then
man,
for yourself,
big
by the
man,
way,
you've got no
especially
idea.
in weddings. So
You have no idea.
So things are a lot different now for you.
Mm-hmm.
In the next sort of quarter, because we've just come to the first quarter of 2025, what's the next quarter got in store for you? What's your main driver?
So next quarter is we are looking to secure more sites. We've now brought more investment in. We are in full-blown acquisition mode now for next year. So we are looking, obviously, to acquire more sites as and when they come up. But the key thing for us, Lee, is don't take on anything we don't need or don't want.
Yeah.
You know, it's being really selective in what we pick to take through. And it's worked for us so far. So I think being picky is being, realistic and keeping an eye on everything in the most best possible way, kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, the next quarter first quarter was really trying to establish if we can make a good go at this. This next quarter is we've established that. Now let's see how far we can take it.
Brilliant. I love the way that you're looking at planning and strategy that you put into place. It's brilliant to see, Reece. It honestly is. After meeting you the first time it's probably over a year and a half ago at Ayrshire in Ayr Town Centre, and seeing that person as a different person who you've actually became different now, but knowing the experience you've had back then as well. But also looking at the long-term opportunity versus the short-term gain. In other words, it's 100%. Great to see that, Reece. It really is.
It's needed. It's been neededly though, because I say to everybody, I'm not a businessman. I'm just not. It's like a businessman to me is, Alan Sugar, that kind of thing, like Peter Jones. They're businessmen. I'm just a salesman. That's all I am, right?
They all start off as salesmen, Reece. They all start off as salespeople.
I know they did. So what I really mean with that though is I've spent a lot of time actually trying to get a good grasp of what it means to run a business, not a piggy bank.
Yes.
That was my biggest downfall with the last business, was running the business as a cash machine. It was an ATM for me.
Yeah.
It really was. And if I hadn't, I think that's coming into partly one of the reasons why it didn't all work out in the end. But, doing a deal so I could go out at the weekend. Instead, now we're doing deals so that I can employ another person. Or I'm doing deals so that we can pay the tax bill. Yeah. Or, like things like that where it's...
Sorry to say this, provide you a good life, though. For you and the family around you. So you got to... It's great doing all those little tick boxes you've got, but providing a great life for you and Charlie.
Well, listen, look, if you're really asking me the why, that's the why is to, retire Charlie.
Yeah.
That's the why. I mean, not that she would. She has her own successful business, but, like in that sort of a mentality is if Charlie didn't want to work another day in her life, then she didn't need to. If I wanted to retire at the age of 50, I can.
Yeah.
That's where I want to get to. And honestly, I wholeheartedly believe that this business is on the track to do it.
Yeah. No, I think I think you're totally right. You are on track to do what you're trying to achieve with it as well, Reece. And I wish you all the buckets of success I can pass on to you. I wish you all the very best of the future endeavors. I can see the future is extremely bright for you and extremely shiny. And that's just by the yellow top you got behind you there. But
mate, that is the missus going out blazers. I've got all, I don't know if you can tell mine's are all business and hers are all going out. So yeah.
Going out. Well, Reece, thank you so much for joining me this week. I do appreciate it. It's been great just to delve in and just to really get an understanding where you are, but also, again, I think just to summarize it, that is the road you've been on, the path, you've adapted to it, but also you've celebrated at the same time, but also recognize what you need to do. And you had to make that hard decision on there and go, right, that's it. That's what has to change. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for sharing that with us today, Reece.
Thank you, mate.
And
Appreciate
everybody's
it.
watching and listening on LinkedIn and YouTube, don't forget to have a look at the Land Development Network website. That's landdevelopmentnetwork.co.uk. Check it out. And also, hey, here's the thing. Why not reach out to Reece through LinkedIn, connect with them, start the conversation? Because at the end of the day, I shared that this week, is that every good connection that you make in business starts with one thing: a conversation, a talking opportunity. And you've got to keep that talking going all the time. You know, many people have said to me in the last week, Reece, is that they go, well, I haven't spoken to them in nearly 6 months. What's changed? You know, in networking, business development, in sales, we're all salespeople in some way, shape, or form. The Peter Joneses, and hopefully if he's watching this, I hope I'm not insulting them, by the way, but, you know, Mr. Jones started off as a salesperson at the beginning of his career, the same with Mr. Alan Sugar, or Sir Alan Sugar, started off exactly the same way as being salespeople at the beginning of that as well. Please follow us on the YouTube channel at Lee Foster Official. We've got many more Newpreneur cast interviews coming up over the next few weeks. If you've got any questions about anything that you see online today, please feel free to send me a message directly at Lee Foster at revitalize-connect.com. From me and from Reece, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the week ahead. Keep connecting, or a weekend, because we're in the weekend now. The weekend is just upon us. And we'll see you ready to hit the track and running next week. But as always, everybody, happy connecting, take care, and keep talking. Thanks again. Cheers, Reece. Ta-ra for now.
Cheers, mate.